South Park just took Disney's new woke Snow White to task, and it looks like Jenna Ortega is caught in the middle of it all.
I feel like unrelatable, or I feel like sometimes I have to speak differently or carry myself differently in order to assimilate myself.
After Disney's controversial casting decisions and attempts to modernize Snow White, South Park responded with their signature satirical punch.
I had a dream that I was replaced by a diverse woman.
Oh, not again.
Yeah, only this time, it wasn't just me. They were taking all my favorite people and replacing them with diverse women complaining about the patriarchy. Will you check under the bed and make sure there's no Disney executives under there?
I promise there's not.
I'm scared, Mom. Will you please just look and make sure Kathleen Kennedy isn't under my bed?
Could this be why Jenna is breaking down after all the attention from South Park's parody? Would she have handled it all differently? Jenna Ortega's refusal to join Disney projects. Disney has been trying to rope in Jenna Ortega for quite some time. She's talented, has that it factor, and let's face it, her popularity has skyrocketed thanks to Wednesday and her other standout roles. But while Disney apparently had big plans, including whispers of casting her in Pirates of the Caribbean, Jenna didn't bite. Why? Jenna's not one to follow the crowd, especially when it means playing roles she's not passionate about. Here's the thing. Disney's recent direction of reimagining their classic characters to be more modern and woke is controversial. They're focusing on diversity, empowerment, and social relevance, which sounds great on paper. But Jenna has a different perspective on what makes a character truly meaningful. In her own words, she finds many of these new female roles to be two-dimensional and unrelatable. She's made it clear that she wants roles that are more than just slogans and surface-level empowerment. You know, characters that you can connect with. And it's not that she's anti-Disney. She started her career on Disney Channel's Stuck in the Middle. But it's pretty clear she's not interested in signing up for projects that don't offer her the creative depth she craves. In her mind, there's more to a strong female character than simply declaring her independent or powerful. Jenna believes that a genuinely engaging character has layers, weaknesses, and complexities that make them feel real. And Disney's recent modernization of their fairy tale characters? Let's just say it hasn't exactly impressed her. Now here's where it gets interesting. Rachel Zegler was cast as Snow White, a reimagined version of the character who, in this updated storyline, isn't focused on finding love, but on becoming a strong leader. But this shift in character focus didn't sit well with fans, and Zegler's comments about how weird the original storyline was didn't help. Disney wanted to make Snow White relevant for today's audience, but Jenna's stance? She seems to think that characters don't need to be overhauled. In other words, just give her a role with some heart, not a moral checklist. So why would Jenna turn down a big role in a mega franchise like Pirates of the Caribbean? Well, it might be because she's tired of Hollywood's race-swapping and woke tweaks that she feels don't add substance. According to rumors, Disney tried to court her with roles reflecting their new inclusive direction, but Jenna's focus is elsewhere. She's looking for characters that feel human, flawed, and fully developed, something she thinks Hollywood's woke takes are missing. Disney, on the other hand, is going through its own changes. With CEO Bob Iger at the helm, the company deals with a fair amount of restructuring and cost-cutting. They're facing backlash for financial and creative decisions, and Jenna's refusal to play along with their agenda only adds another wrinkle to the story. Imagine being one of Disney's most prominent names after, but not being interested. Now that's a power move. And let's not forget that Jenna's popularity doesn't depend on her agreeing to every offer she makes. She's built a brand around authenticity and relatability, and this stance against shallow roles only makes her fan base respect her more. She's making her choices carefully, prioritizing depth over dollar signs, which is refreshing in today's Hollywood. So, with Jenna standing firm on her creative principles, Disney finds itself in a bit of a pickle. Could they be feeling some regret? After all, the internet is already buzzing with fans who believe Jenna would have been a perfect fit for Snow White or other prominent Disney roles, but Jenna's focus seems crystal clear. She's not here for just any role. She's here for roles that speak to her and, by extension, to her audience. The big question is, will Disney reconsider its approach to character development in light of Jenna's stand? Or will Jenna's resistance inspire others to hold out for roles with real depth? Rachel Zegler as Snow White. Disney's choice to cast Rachel Zegler as Snow White was bold, but it didn't go as smoothly as they might have hoped. Zegler, well known for her breakout role in West Side Story, is playing a reimagined Snow White, one who's no longer just about true love's kiss, but instead dreams of leadership and independence. In this version, Snow White doesn't need rescuing. She's focused on running the kingdom herself without a prince to sweep her off her feet. It's a significant shift from the original story, but is it too much? The character updates were part of Disney's modern twist to make classic characters more relevant to today's world. And let's be honest, the idea sounds progressive and empowering on paper. But things got messy when Zegler started sharing her thoughts about this new Snow White in interviews. In one interview, she commented that the 1937 original was weird because Snow White just sat around waiting to be saved by the prince. Zegler emphasized that her character wouldn't be dreaming about true love or Prince Charming, but instead would focus on becoming the leader her father believed she could be. For some fans, though, this take seemed to miss the mark entirely. Public reactions weren't exactly what Disney had in mind. Fans of the original Snow White felt that changing her motivation and dreams so drastically was unnecessary, even disrespectful. They argued that the original Snow White didn't need fixing. She was a product of her time, and that's okay. Rachel's remarks about the original story being outdated only fueled the fire. Many saw her comments as dismissive, and social media lit up with criticism. Fans argued that if Disney wanted a character about independence and leadership, they could create a new one instead of overhauling Snow White. What sparked the backlash was the perception that Zegler's Snow White no longer had any ties to the character's core values. Snow White was originally all about kindness, innocence, and yes, love. She was an optimist who saw the good in people, even when facing adversity. This new independent Snow White seemed to lack that warmth. And with Zegler's pointed comments, fans began to feel that this version of Snow White was, ironically, a bit two-dimensional, a character seemingly built more around ideology than heart. This puts Rachel Zegler in stark contrast to Jenna Ortega, who has been vocal about her preference for characters with depth and realness. While Zegler's Snow White seems like a product of Disney's agenda, Ortega has taken a stand against similar woke storylines that feel forced. She's openly criticized Hollywood's trend of rewriting female characters to fit specific ideals, arguing that it strips them of relatability. Jenna's perspective on character authenticity has earned her a lot of respect, and in light of the Snow White controversy, it makes fans wonder if Disney chose the wrong actress. So as Disney leans into its woke era with revamped classic characters, it seems to be walking a fine line. They want to make their stories relevant and empowering, but the reaction to Zegler's Snow White shows that audiences aren't always on board with drastic reimaginings. They're starting to question whether Disney's changes are improving these stories or stripping them of their timeless charm. South Park's parody and public response. South Park has a knack for poking fun at popular culture, and Disney's woke remake of Snow White didn't escape their radar. In a recent episode, South Park aimed at Disney's recent trend of race-swapping characters and prioritizing woke themes in their classic tales. They're known for their Take No Prisoners satire, and this time was no different. The episode had audiences laughing and maybe even nodding in agreement as South Park mocked Disney's efforts to modernize its stories by drastically reimagining beloved characters, including Snow White. The satire focused heavily on Disney's approach to casting, particularly about Snow White, where Disney cast Rachel Zegler, a Latina actress, in a traditionally Caucasian role. South Park highlighted how these casting decisions, while intended to be inclusive, sometimes miss the mark with audiences. Many fans feel that Disney's race swapping isn't about adding depth or authenticity to these characters, but more about checking off boxes. In classic South Park style, the show implied that Disney's recent moves are more performative than meaningful, and audiences are beginning to feel the disconnect. South Park also poked fun at how Disney's new character choices often feel hollow. By shifting beloved characters like Snow White from traditional roles to empowered ones, South Park argued Disney sometimes sacrifices the heart and essence of these characters. The satirical episode suggested that audiences can see through these changes, sensing when a character's updates are more about pushing an agenda than creating a fully realized individual. Through their exaggerated comedy, South Park captured the public's mixed feelings about Disney's attempts to redefine characters to fit modern-day social ideals. Now here's where Jenna Ortega enters the conversation, indirectly at least. Fans of Jenna see her as the perfect contrast to the Disney approach that South Park criticized. Ortega has been vocal about wanting characters with depth and authenticity. Her opinions about shallow, two-dimensional roles in Hollywood perfectly echo the concerns that South Park is bringing up through satire. Jenna's fans see her as the kind of actor who would have approached Snow White in a way that honors the character's spirit rather than bending her to fit a modern mold. For fans, it's almost as if Jenna's stance on character complexity aligns with South Park's critique, even though she isn't directly involved. People appreciate that Jenna Ortega doesn't blindly accept roles just to fit into Hollywood's latest trends. Instead, she's looking for stories and characters that resonate on a human level. This mindset has made her incredibly popular among audiences tired of feeling like Hollywood is prioritizing message over meaning. In a sense, fans are rooting for her as the alternative to Disney's woke characters because she's demonstrated that she values character depth above all else. What's interesting is how Jenna's approach has fans wondering if she would have made a better Snow White. With her dedication to creating relatable, nuanced characters, Jenna seems like she'd be able to bring out the classic elements of Snow White while still making her feel fresh and relevant. Fans see her embodying what South Park indirectly suggests. Hollywood can create solid and modern characters without turning them into hollow symbols. This parody by South Park has sparked conversations about how Hollywood's woke direction might be alienating audiences. So, in light of South Park's satirical take and Jenna Ortega's approach to character, the big question is, will Hollywood start listening to what audiences genuinely want in their favorite stories? And could Jenna's influence encourage studios to create authentic and inclusive characters? Fan support for Jenna as a better fit for Snow White. Fans are rallying for Jenna Ortega as Snow White, viewing her as the ideal choice to blend classic charm with fresh, relatable energy. Jenna has built a reputation for portraying multi-dimensional characters with heart and respect for their source material. She doesn't just play her roles, she embodies them. Whether she's channeling the deadpan edge of Wednesday Addams or giving depth to other beloved characters, Jenna brings an authenticity that audiences can feel. Fans are convinced she'd get the same dedication to Snow White, preserving the character's kindness, optimism, and purity while adding layers that make her relevant today. The push for Jenna over Rachel Zegler isn't just about acting style. It's also about character integrity. Snow White has always represented hope, innocence, and love, even in hardship. With Disney's recent shift toward empowering classic characters, some fans feel that the core traits are being sacrificed for modernization. Rachel's take on Snow White has stirred controversy, especially as she's been vocal about how the classic 1937 version is dated and weird by today's standards. Her comments, though likely meant to express her excitement about an empowered version of Snow White, came off to many fans as dismissive. People love Snow White for who she is, not necessarily who Disney wants her to be in 2024. Then there's Jenna, who has spoken about her desire for authentic and multi-dimensional characters. She's been open about not wanting to play roles that fit into shallow, two-dimensional stereotypes, and that stance has resonated with fans. They appreciate that Jenna doesn't jump on Hollywood trends just to stay relevant. Instead, she looks for roles that offer something meaningful, a quality that makes fans feel she'd handle Snow White with the right mix of respect and nuance. This commitment to character integrity is one of the reasons fans argue Jenna would be a better fit for the role. Adding fuel to this debate was South Park's recent parody, which took a jab at Disney's woke approach, implying that the updated Snow White and other reimagined characters feel more like ideological symbols than actual story evolutions. Rachel Zegler's reaction to this parody didn't help her case. Her response, seen by many as over-the-top, added to the perception that she's focused more on defending her character version than connecting with audiences who have loved Snow White for decades. Fans couldn't help but think Jenna Ortega would have handled the situation differently with a cooler, more grounded approach. In past interviews, Jenna mentioned how her early training helped her navigate the media spotlight and handle the industry's inevitable criticism. Fans think she takes South Park's satire in stride, viewing it as part of the territory rather than a personal attack. Jenna's grounded attitude has won her fans, who respect her authenticity and maturity. She's relatable in a way that makes people feel she truly cares about the characters she plays and the fans who follow her work. Social media is full of posts from fans expressing their wish that Jenna had been cast as Snow White. Comments flood Twitter, Instagram, and fan forums with people saying things like, "Jenna would bring Snow White's true spirit back," or "If Jenna were Snow White, she'd keep her sweetness while making her feel real and modern." There's even a sense that Jenna embodies the qualities that make Disney princesses so beloved: kindness, resilience, and grace. Fans think her approach would feel natural, avoiding the trap of turning Snow White into a political statement. The passion from Jenna's fanbase speaks to a more significant issue many feel with Hollywood's reimagining of iconic characters. They argue that Jenna's approach to acting represents the balance audiences want: characters who can evolve without losing their core qualities. Fans believe she would respect Snow White's traditional values while subtly modernizing her, again making her a timeless character. Could Jenna Ortega have bridged the gap between classic charm and modern relevance? Fans certainly think so, and they're making it loud and clear online. So with all this support for Jenna, will Disney listen to what audiences really want in their classic characters? Or has Hollywood's focus on reinvention gone a bit too far? Hollywood's woke agenda. Hollywood's focus on woke storytelling has brought applause and criticism. With characters getting revamped to fit modern ideals, there's been a growing call for substance over spectacle. That's where Jenna Ortega and, surprisingly, South Park's satire come in. Jenna's values and approach to character depth seem to represent a growing demand from audiences for real and grounded stories. She isn't opposed to progress, but is vocal about creating characters with genuine layers, not just updated roles that feel hollow. South Park's recent jab at Disney's woke direction hit on this exact point. The show highlighted a vital issue by mocking Disney's approach to race swapping and character overhauls. Audiences notice when updates feel more like checklists than genuine evolution. In fact, some fans argue that South Park nailed it with this satire, spotlighting how performative woke efforts can come off as inauthentic, especially when they override the story's original charm. Jenna's fans see her as a refreshing voice in this landscape, standing for a new kind of inclusivity that feels natural, not forced. Jenna Ortega has become a bit of a spokesperson for Gen Z's thirst for authenticity. Her fan base loves that she values thoughtful storytelling and isn't afraid to turn down roles that feel shallow or gimmicky. While Hollywood's latest trend is to tweak iconic characters to fit modern values, Jenna seems more interested in staying true to the characters' core personalities. Fans feel that she reflects their own frustrations with Hollywood's push for inclusivity that sometimes loses sight of what makes these characters timeless. What makes Jenna stand out even more is her commitment to meaningful representation. She's part of a wave of young actors who don't just want a role for diversity's sake, they want roles that showcase real, complex people, and audiences are responding. In her interviews, Jenna speaks about her desire for roles that go beyond stereotypes, calling out Hollywood's tendency to flatten characters into something unrecognizable just to seem progressive. This perspective makes her fans feel seen, as if she's not just acting but advocating for the stories they want to see. Hollywood could learn something here. Fans argue that diversity should enhance a story, not completely redefine it. Jenna's approach could be a blueprint for future casting decisions, showing that it's possible to update characters without stripping them of their original magic. After all, audiences love a character who feels like someone they know, not just a statement on a screen. Jenna's values echo a broader sentiment. Inclusivity is excellent, but it has to feel authentic, like it's woven into the story naturally. It's clear that audiences resonate with Jenna's outlook on genuine, thoughtfully crafted characters. Her fan base appreciates her stand against performative wokeness, seeing it as a much-needed call for Hollywood to focus on character substance over surface-level changes. They're hoping that voices like hers and critiques from pop culture satirists like South Park might encourage studios to rethink their approach. So will Hollywood listen to this demand for genuine storytelling? Could Jenna Ortega's rise signal a shift in the industry's approach to character and diversity? Fans sure hope so, and they're watching closely. So, South Park mocks Disney, and now Jenna Ortega's name is right in the mix. Would she have been the perfect Snow White? What do you think of Jenna's approach compared to Disney's new take? And if you want to know more about this ongoing debate over Disney and South Park, let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more updates on your favorite stars and controversies.